very adversarial system is not our system. Exactly what is the objective of how the courts are functioning? Justice, yes, but how? End of the day, what is the design by which that is achieved? That institution design still remains a Western design.
Is a Western design, which is of centralization of delivery of justice as an example?
Is one way to look at it.
Instead of community-based local justice delivery, for example, khap panchayats.
That intent, again, the decentralization itself is not the main problem, because the Supreme Court by design is not meant to actually address cases to deliver justice. Only things that get escalated beyond a point.
But even in the civil courts, it's still centralized. There is nothing which is of the community.
Run by the state.
Run by the state, yes. Okay.
It is decentralized, federalized, but still run by the state. So the community participation in justice delivery is not there, obviously.
And that is a desired?
That was our system. Don't desire is...
That was our system.
But the principle of how justice is delivered, the adversarial view towards how justice is supposed to be achieved. If the idea that two entities pull the tug from two sides and then we are more likely to arrive at some balance, that's not an exercise in truth finding, it is an exercise in arriving at a decent bargain. In principle. I mean, just one example, but we can probably will need to do a thorough session or research on that itself, but these are all examples that are directly visible to us. Is there a point in Nyayavada? Because the Nyaya Adhikari is supposed to ascertain Nyaya. Why is he supposed to argue for Nyaya? So, it's not just one or two things, we can expand on examples, but essentially this institution design remains an imported design, that far everybody agrees. And it's also, to be fair, a fact that people have adopted because they found this to be survival fit. They did not find traditional models to be survival fit. And this also has some historic precedent and support from reality. Most of the countries that have decolonized in 20th century or have tried to modernize in 20th century have adopted the Western models to different degrees so that they are survival fit. And those who have adopted have actually succeeded in progressing. China, India also to a good extent. The trajectory is, once they have enough strength, they start asserting their nativity, because eventually that self-discovery, that craving comes to assert themselves. Then the craving for a new model comes, their own model comes. So whatever be the reason, basically it's a given that the current model is not a native model. The question is whether it serves our purpose. Beyond a point, it doesn't. Not just beyond a point, all the integration motifs that we traditionally had, the Desha, Sampradaya, Kula, all these have become disintegration motifs in the current design. So basically this design is set to divide and not to integrate. And that's not because people are bad. People are the same all the time. That's because the design is bad. So now can the nation act? This is also another rhetoric that keeps coming. The system is like that, but what are you doing in your capacity? Now, if people have to act to fix the system, what kind of system it is? Again, it comes back to how well-meaning the system is at this point of time and what can be done to fix that. Because the context is the design of the system. Context is not exactly individual activism. And the nation should not have to rise in spite of the state.
Okay. Nation? What did you say?
The nation should not have to come up in spite of the state. The state should be the main enabler for the nation to come up.
Okay. So despite all the nonsense of the state, the nation is struggling to come up.
And it has been coming up.
It has been coming up. So it should be more conducive. The coming up of the nation should be more conducive to...
State should be conducive.
Should be more conducive to rise of the nation.
Yes.
Sure.
So, which is why after nearly 8 decades, the collective energies, where are they spent as on date? They are spent on the utility level problem solving, still a welfareism, all these things. Where are we really in the higher end of technology or military or any major field where we can be of reckoning? Yes, still in good books of many countries, those are all fine. And that is because a lot of good work is done, helping other countries, all these things. And a lot of utility is also being served. But that's not exactly how you establish a major power.
Your do-gooders with vaccine policy and whatever else, but we are way behind. This is established that we are way behind either in technology for warfare or AI or any meaningful world-cutting technology. We are laggards at best, right? Just because now China comes up with DeepSeek, so we will have our Indian AI, which is okay, good, very good. At least we are waking up as reactionaries, but there is no proactive. That shows up in our education, in our patents, everywhere we are laggards. Absolutely. So that's completely established. So you're saying we are laggards in all this because the present state is not conducive to the rise and to knowledge building and
Yes.
becoming a hard
The
power.
prioritization is like that, which is why the results are like this.
What do you mean?
The prioritization is on welfareism from the top. The state prioritizes that because the state's goals have been defined that way right from the preamble. So it's not exactly that the dispensation is to be blamed, the design is like that.
You mean socialism, secularism, equality, all those doctrines that are inserted into the constitution. Okay. So that is design.
So from here, I mean, to argue that the current system is inept or suitable, not suitable, that's all the debating part. But largely, it's a given that it's a modern system, Western system that has been adopted. So, what exactly is the future as part of a natural trajectory of a rising nation? It may be some things may be doable, some things may be farther, but eventually a native model has to be emerging.